Well, the thing is that we live in a world where I think most people they go by the 70-30 rule. So what that means is people will consume 70% and they will produce 30% of everything, right? So that's, I think, one of the problems, because I think a lot of people have the potential to be that 70% of producing, but the world we live in allows us to be mostly consumers. We buy everything we can off Amazon. We consume everything on TikTok or on Instagram, on our phones. We're constantly sedated by these devices and TVs and news and everything around you, memes everywhere. You can't get off Twitter for 1 second. You can't stop scrolling Facebook on memes. That makes us into consumers. So I think 70% of people, or 70 to 90%, I would say, of people's daily lives is simply is consuming instead of producing. And I think humans are meant to create. That's why the Great Pyramids were built in Egypt, right? That's why we build all the buildings that we have. That's why your house was built by strong men that had to put the wood together, right? Because humans are meant to create. And so unfortunately, we destroy a lot of it because we're dumb. But I think people are naturally, we have brilliant minds, and it allows us to create amazing skyscrapers and a lot of things that we take for granted today. Create this phone I have in my hand. We create all of these things.
It's a divine gift of mankind to be able to create.
But the problem in our society now is most people they're mostly consumers instead of producers. So if you flip the script and you do, our advice to people is to be 70% producing and 30% consuming. You flip the script that way, you're going to feel more fulfilled because you're going to be that creator. So just like you said, instead of reading, reading others' chapbooks and consuming art is great, but you don't want to have it be everything. You want to maybe have a little bit and then add it to your own life. So you want to start producing and creating your own stuff. That way you can put your own stuff in the world, and then you can sort of have it that way. That, I think if people did the 70-30 rule in our flipped script, I think it would be, a lot of people would be a little bit happier, because people feel good when they create things and other people consume them. And it's like a sense of accomplishment, which is missing in our society today by many.
Yeah, and especially when, like, whatever you're consuming is something that you can learn from, something that can provide value. Because, like, for example, Don was reading his chapbook. If I was reading your chapbook right now, and I got motivated, and I was like, okay, I'm learning stuff. I'm learning not only this person, like what this person has gone through, but I'm learning things about myself that I didn't think about. And now I have this motivation that I want to do something. I want to produce something, and I'm using all that I've learned from, like, your book, someone else's book, something that I seen online, and I use all that to then produce. I feel like that's how we should be working, at least everybody nowadays, is we should be consuming the things that provide us value to then create to produce. And it's that cycle. And then everybody should be taking what we produce and consuming it to learn, to get value, to then produce something else for other people, and so on and so forth. But I feel like nowadays there's this big panel of people that are like pretty much 90% producers. They're producing pretty much everything that we ever see ever. And all we do is just sit down and pretty much just eat it all up. Yep. Whether it's news media, whether it's stupid dances on TikTok, whatever, things, memes on social media platforms, stuff like that. And then you get the diamond in the rough of, like, poetry or things that provide value to you, that, you get a little bit of it, but then you also have all this overconsumption of all the stuff that doesn't give you any value. And especially because certain things can give you value. It doesn't matter whether it's poetry or whatever. Everything can give you value, but it actually, what it matters is what you do with it. That's the way that it gives you value. Is if you can watch a dancing video on TikTok, but does it really give you value? I mean, it can give you value if you make dances on TikTok and you learn from these other people who make dances. I wouldn't say that's probably the best thing to do with your life, but there's other avenues that you can go to take in and consume content, and then create your own content that you were inspired by the other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it's kind of like, let's say you go on YouTube and you want to start a business on giving people oil changes in your front yard, right? Like, let's say, because a lot of people don't know how to do their own oil changes, and a lot of these companies do it for like $30. So what you would do is you would go on YouTube and you would type in how to do an oil change, right? And you would learn how to do oil changes on different cars from people who have already produced that content on YouTube, right? So you consume the content of them, you're watching them do the oil changes on the car, and then you use that knowledge of what you consumed to create your own business, your own thing about then changing oils of other people's cars, because the content you consumed, now you're able to produce a business or a thing of you doing oil changes for people from what you've learned from consuming. So that is what I would call like a healthy way of the 30-70% rule that we were talking about.
And I think that's basically the biggest metaphor to that is medicine. You know, some people need to consume medicine. The best way to get medicine is to eat healthy. You know, to consume something that's positive, that makes sense, to something that's that will actually help your body. But then you take the thing that is garbage, that man-made or junk food, you put that in your body, it'll give you a little bit of energy, but it still does, sometimes it does more damage than good. Doom scrolling, looking at dances on TikTok and not actually doing anything. Oh, that's cute. And then moving on. That did nothing for your life but waste 30-40 seconds of your life, which is, you never get that back.
Or 30-40 minutes.
Or 30-40 minutes of doom scrolling, exactly. So
time's the fire which we all burn, so
hello. There you go.
You have to be careful not to waste it.
Exactly.
I feel like a lot of people be wasting a lot of time all the time, and then they complain and like, oh, I'm in my 40s now. I didn't really do anything with my life. What am I doing? And
it's like, well, you spent how much time on playing video games or doing whatever. You could have been out in the world making some friends, building some connections. There are different ways to succeed in life. There are many ways. Life is art. Life is game, right? Mm-hmm. What is your game? How are you going to apply your game to life? How are you going to affect your life instead of life affecting you? How are you going to affect your environment instead of your environment infecting you? Important questions people need to really ask themselves when navigating the world we live in.
Yeah.
Speaking of gaming, twitch.com, twitch.tv/Don Krypton. There you go. You can find me on gaming on there as well.
Shameless plug.
He's producing.
Listen, if I'm going to sit down and play video games for a couple hours, come and watch me. There you go.
Why not, right?
I agree with that. I do agree with that because that's perfect, because I think there's a lot of people on Twitch making millions. Like, it's pretty crazy right now. There's a guy named Aiden Ross out there. He's a Twitch streamer. He makes like millions of dollars doing that. There's a few big ones out there. Like, like something you love doing, find a way to incorporate that into making a lifestyle out of it. Something you really enjoy, instead of playing some game constantly that's not going to, find a way to provide that, giving you value. There's so many, as I said, there's so many different ways of success, and depending on what you're into, you can make that into a dream come true, depending on what you really love. And some things are just passion projects, It's not really about money or anything. It's not really about, you just love to do it for fun. So we, like getting up on that stage because it's simply joy. It brings that passion. It just keeps you alive. Literally keeps your soul alive. Keeps you from falling down a dark hole, deep rabbit hole. Instead, you're on the stage, talking what you talk.
Yeah, performing my work, my art has, definitely helped me with that. I mean, I've seen it help a number of other people too that I've brought into the scene. My friends Mike Demand and Thomas James. I'm happy they joined me in attending a lot of the readings and open mics, and even they've been featuring and spreading their message and becoming more confident in their art. And it's a wonderful progression of self-growth that you see from somebody once being afraid to say their words, spread their message, and then ultimately ending up and having people ask them to do so, because of their ability to perform that and their message reaching people in a positive way.
Absolutely. More shameless plugs. Same thing, bringing people into that producer mentality instead of the consumer mentality. I was able to start a podcast with one of my best friends from middle school, the AM Mayhem podcast.
Same thing.
Also on Twitch. Our year anniversary was the 15th, so we've been doing that for a year.
That's awesome.
And learning from each other back in high school, 15 years old. It's been a lifetime since then, and just now getting to do something that we both love, that we both can report on. It's beautiful. And I have another friend whose birthday is today. Rosemary, we're talking about you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And having her come on to we're doing a podcast on IG streaming called Raw Truths live sessions, just talking about relationships and stuff like that. So it's very interesting seeing people who were consumers before come into that producer life and then shine, doing it really well, doing amazing. So
that's actually how
awesome.
we started, because Mike and I, we go back to middle school, and we were friends. We had a friend group all in high school. We had some of the same classes, same friend group, same lunches. We did the same thing after school. In fact, during our we've always kind of been producers, because in high school we would we were into film, and we filmed series that's still find on YouTube today. We would also do is we did like a Fight Club thing, and we had a friend, and we would go into his basement. We would all wrestle, we would fight, and we would record it. You could actually go on. You could find it on YouTube.
You can find it on YouTube
that
somewhere.
when I was videos when I was fatter, and you could see me just getting thrown on my back. But we've always been trying to create stories and different kind of stuff like that. But we, the same thing. We go back and we were like, we want to keep producing. And we want to put our stuff out into the world, and here we are. We're still evolving every day, and we're not quitting. So that's really what it is. A lot of people get thrown off.
Never quit. Always have faith.
Yeah, even with all the different types of projects that we tried doing, and none of them fully like fleshing out to being what we want, we were just like, well, let's just figure something else out. Let's just keep going on something different.
Yeah, you could always change an idea. That's the beautiful thing about an idea.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because because we started with the Fight Club, and then we had a series that dealt with fighting.
Right.
And then
it's like fictional versions of ourselves.
Yeah, fictional versions of ourselves fighting.
Drug dealers in the neighborhood, and
and then we went to, and then this was also right around when the zombie apocalypse stuff was getting big in the zeitgeist. So we had a zombie apocalypse story that kind of went a little supernatural as well. And like all these things, like we wrote out, we fleshed it out, had a whole bunch of people on board to do it, like to help us with it, and then nothing would really come of it. But we had the journey of doing it was what was great for us. But when things just nothing was really happening with it, we were just like, all right, well, what's the next thing we're gonna write? What's the next thing we're gonna start planning? What are we doing? I know you and John, you guys wrote a movie. You guys wrote a horror film
script. Yep.
And then I helped revitalize it when we were trying to do it again. We were trying to get that settled again.
Yeah, it's all about keeping moving and not being content, because I don't think humans are meant to be content. I think when we're supposed to be moving on to a new project, once again, it's what keeps us alive. Always writing new things, new poems, new books, new ideas. It's always putting your content out there, and because there's always something new. Different life events will change your perception of things, and it'll inspire you to write new things, right?
Life makes us create art. Without life, we have no art to create. So
without experiences of life, yeah. If you sat in your house all day, your entire life, you would have nothing to write about, because you'd know nothing about the world. But when you find out about the world, it gives you so many different plot points and where to start, where to begin, different ideas to write about.
And then you be creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have things you can extrapolate on. There's certain instances or ideas or fantasies, even ideas and notions of as you guys said, you guys are writing horror scripts, zombie apocalypse stuff. I mean, come on, man.
With you.